Hello there, beautiful beings. RozyGlow here. How are you doing? I wanted to offer you a little energy update for StarSeeds to prepare us for the impending full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus that is occurring on Friday morning in the UK. It's just after 8 a.m. And it feels really important just to invite everybody to come together and to remember what we're actually going through at this point, because I know there's some amazing people that are talking about the world stage and what's going on. And essentially, anyone who is an awakening starseed is learning to live with a higher consciousness in a physical reality of lower consciousness, and to practice not going down into the spirals of doom that are easily gone into when we buy into the mainstream and plenty of the alternate narratives too. So if you're new to me, I'm a multidimensional success coach. I teach people to live in this higher frequency and to be able to see things from a multidimensional perspective, and then to consciously choose the reality that they want to co-create based on what it is that they most want to experience, what we most want to experience. And the invitation here is stepping into a love-based paradigm. What does that actually look like, and what does that feel like? So if you like the sound of this and you're curious, please do hit that subscribe button and the notifications button, and you'll know every time I'm here with another episode, because everything I do on this channel is really part of a timeline and a storyline. And this is the most graceful, easy, and joyful ascension paradise timeline that we can actually connect with. And this is the invitation that I have to bring you into, is when you are choosing to be a conscious co-creator in the world of RozyGlow, which is the world of divine grace, which is the power of revelation that we get when we kind of suddenly get something that we didn't get in the past. We're able to break free from a habit or a pattern or a way of seeing the world that has limited us. And then we kind of get to make sense of it as we look back. It's a bit like astrology. You kind of get like a sense of what's going on in the world around you and what's coming, but it's only when you look back that you're like, oh, I get it now. I get what happened and why it happened and why it had to happen. So for those of you who are truth seekers as I am, the key is we need to kind of get this to follow this rather than this follow this. And I hear so many people say they have this battle going on between their head and their heart, and I'm like, if there's a battle going on, listen to this and get this to start to entrain with this, because our brain is a computer. The mind is in the collective field, and ultimately our heart is what's always going to help us to navigate our soul's truth. And the time period that we're in is basically the end of a cycle of eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius axis, and we're moving into the Scorpio and Taurian axis. Now, the last time that we came into this particular time frame of eclipses was back in 2013, 2014. And I'm not an astrologer myself, but when I actually look back and I remember what was happening at that time, I remember that some pretty big things happened, both really big highs and really big lows, it seemed at the time, but they were happening to push me and to help me really get on my path. And what seemed like a real joy and a real like wow moment was actually to help liberate me from a situation that I could have spent forever pining for. And what seemed like the lowest woo moment and like tough moment basically was to liberate me from living basically in a sense of false security. So this is where I invite you just to contemplate this idea that good luck, bad luck, what seems like it's against you is actually working in your favor. And what seems like, it's there and really sort of helping you, supporting you, is doing so, but it's also there to help you to align more fully with what you really want. Now, I've been finding it quite difficult to get my words out the last few days. And I've been finding that my brain I've either had a headache, and I know a lot of us have had headaches, or I've just been feeling like everything's being stretched and expanded, and it's difficult to be articulate. It's difficult to be on point. And let's just remember what we've been doing, okay? Like on Halloween, so the 31st of October, I hosted something called the Ancestral Miracle Magic bloodline clearing event, which you can still purchase through my website, RozyGlow.com. And I've put the link in the text box below. But essentially, this was for us to be able to liberate ourselves from the trauma that we have inherited from one generation to the next, all the way back 14 generations, back to a time when we were all related to each other one way or another by blood, if we were to look at the numbers of us that existed at that time. And then we took a giant leap back to the time of Atlantis, when we had this big cataclysmic event that somehow is in our soul psyche. Whether it's in our bloodline psyche or our soul psyche, there is this memory of a huge destruction. And as we're learning more about our starseed consciousness, we're realizing that, we're souls having a physical experience here on earth. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience, but our spirituality and our physicality isn't limited to this earth plane. This is where we get collective amnesia. We forget who we are. Anyone who's joining me, let me know that you can actually hear me, please, because I did have some problem with the microphone earlier. And yeah, basically, we're coming into this place now where we're learning we're much more than just our physical selves, and we're starting to have soul memories. We're starting to have a connection to our non-physical guides and teachers. So many more people are getting on point. They're clairsentient, clairvoyant, claircognizant, claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairaudience is coming on board. And these are our super senses beyond our five senses. And in a way, what I invite you to contemplate is, when you're purely connected to the brain, then you are only receiving information through your five senses. But when you drop into your heart, you're then able to expand your capacity to feel into things, and therefore your extrasensory perception comes online. And this is kind of why we were gifted, well, the internet, the whole technology that we have, the net, the grid, the everything that exists, so we can come to understand the non-physical in a way that is non-threatening. Because the internet is non-physical, right? Wi-Fi is non-physical. Electricity is non-physical. We believe in these, but we still on this earthly plane have a challenge with believing other things that can't be measured through our current scientific protocols. And yet there's new science emerging all the time. And what happens with that is everything is denied, denied, denied until it can no longer be denied, and then it is accepted. And on a massive global scale, this is kind of what's happening. If you look at the situation that's been occurring the last 2 years, the sea situation, then you know full well that those of us who are waking up can smell a rat when we can smell a rat, and we know things are totally off. And although there's a part of us that finds it really hard to believe, because the evidence in the terrestrial channels, the mainstream channels, seems to be so compelling to believe the lie. Our inner compass knows it's not right. Our extrasensory perception knows something is off. And actually, if you kind of feel beyond the fear, you will also feel that there's something wonderful coming. All right. And that is the invitation of this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. It is to prepare for something wonderful coming. And rather than actually fearing the eclipse season, rather than fearing the fateful events that kind of take away that which no longer serves us and align us with what is for our highest good, we end up being gifted an opportunity to welcome with positive anticipation the changes that are surely coming to align us fully with our soul mission, our soul path. And I had a very interesting conversation with a lady called Wendy a few weeks ago, and she was like, it's all random, don't you? You know that, we're all creators of our reality, but this reality is all random. And that was kind of a whole other level of where I was at. It's like, but we're here with a purpose. We're here to do this. And it's like, yeah, but it's all random. And for some people, that's really scary. The game of life is what this earth is about, right? How to live on this earth plane. What rules are we going to live by? Divine law, human law. What happens when we're not scared of dying anymore? What do we value then? Like, what happens when we realize we're not just this physical presence, but we are eternal beings having a physical experience? You ask these questions, initially you don't have the answers, all right? But once you do ask the question, you start to open your heart and your mind to what is possible. But none of that can really happen until we drop the density of the past. So the new moon that we had in Scorpio a couple of weeks ago was really about bringing up the dregs of our hidden self, our inner dark god and our inner dark goddess. And these parts of us exist to help us to deal with basically surviving the world that we're in. They exist to help us deal with the legacy we inherited that is challenging for us to carry. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, when you can see in others how they're not helping themselves, how they create problems in their lives, and it's easy to see how they're showing up and what they're getting. But we are usually quite blind ourselves to our own ways that we actually contribute to the challenges that are occurring in our world. We're blind to it, okay? Just like if someone says to you, "Oh, you're just like your dad," or "You're just like your mum," and you get enraged by this, but actually you know deep down there are qualities inside of you that you don't like to own because you hate seeing them in others. And, this has come up a lot in shadow work for people. But what it really means is when we see things in others, whether they are family members, whether they are political leaders, whether they are ex partners, whatever, that we despise, there are elements in us that resonate with what we don't like. And if we can actually own that, if we can own that everything is to a degree a projection of our own inner consciousness, and we can learn to love the bits of us that we like to hate, we learn to have compassion for the parts of us that are showing up in the world around us in ways that are despicable. And we choose what we want to activate in our beingness, what we want to energize in our beingness, all the while that we stay in a state of good, bad, of duality, of judging, blaming, shaming. We are not in a position to really be able to access this unified field, this unified consciousness. And I see a lot of spiritual teachers that are still very stuck in the duality. We all are. We all have inner work to do. So the new moon that came 2 weeks ago was really I called it the sting in the tail, but it was like to help us to start to see the bits of us that we really don't own. And this was following on from the ancestral miracle magic, because when you choose to clear your bloodlines of all the trauma that you have been carrying in your cellular memory, and to free them and to free your descendants as well from repeating the patterns, what do you think is going to happen after? You're going to get to see what's really been in the way, what you really have to drop as a story. And it will be the rescuer, the persecutor, the victim. Which one do you play out the most? Because in owning our inner darkness, owning our inner dark god and dark goddess, we have to recognize that we play the roles we do to get attention, to get love, to get energy from others. And it's just learned behavior, but we kind of have to own it. When we own it, we stop projecting it. And this is how we clean up the collective consciousness, because those that are trying to run the world right now in the direction they want to are not healthy and healed individuals. They are reflecting to us the aspects of our wounded self. And we need to see it in order to bring it to consciousness, to love it up, and to stop it running our lives, right? All the while that we don't see it, it's in our subconscious, it's playing out. Once you see it, once you decide that you want to love it up, you want to clear it up, you want to let it go, you want to stop it being what runs your show, drives your car, and you're going to put your soul in control, you're going to put your higher self at the wheel of your car, that's when wonderful things can happen. But we actually have to grow up internally. We've been having this whole story around patriarchy and matriarchy and the return of the goddess and the feminine rising. And here I'm here in feminine form. And I'm saying this isn't the time of the feminine rising. This is the time of the divine child. It's time mum and dad grew up enough to be able to actually provide a nice, secure foundation for our inner child to enjoy co-creating in this physical reality, to learn when they're co-creating from pain, and to make a choice to co-create from their desire to experience something. And, the desire to experience something new is different to just repeating old familiar patterns, because they are what we know, right? So the gift that's coming or has come already is for us to see the bits that are uncomfortable to see, to bring them to the light, so that as we come into this full moon eclipse in Taurus, we're able to just really do the deep healing that is required, receive the codes that are required for this deep healing, so that our foundations are secure now. We're no longer operating as our baseline, as our normal, from our wounded selves, whether it's wounded masculine or wounded feminine or wounded inner child. So that's why I'd love you to join me tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. UK time. Please check your time zone, because with all the different changes with the clocks changing, etc., things are a little out. So I think EST is 4 hours behind at the moment. And just check it out and make sure that you purchase ahead of time. You get to join my inner circle, which is all of my graduates, people who've actually done some very deep dive coaching with me to access their multidimensional nature. And so just by being in the presence of that energy, you get an energy upgrade yourself. And together we are receiving an energy healing. We're receiving the light codes, the light language, the necessary upgrades that are going to support us to be able to hold the vibration we want others to align with. So if we can access the vibration of love, if we can access the vibration of healed inner unified consciousness, then we can transmit that out into the world, and we'll start to see everything clean up much faster. And if you are currently still freaked out and very much in the fear detox yourself, if you check out the links below, you'll see I've put a link to the Cosmic Cleanup Crew, which is a 7-day energy field detox just to allow you to be able to let go of the collective toxicity that's we've all been bombarded with, all of the messages, both in the mainstream and in the alternate narratives that just bring us into fear. And so that Cosmic Cleanup Crew is great for clearing all of that, so you can start to have some clarity and actually own your vibration. Owning your vibration allows you to be a force for good in this world, because you can anchor, you can ground, you can center, and that's really important. Also, I want to just alert you to the fact that the Ancestral Miracle Magic is wonderful to do if you know that there are stories from the past that keep playing out in your life, and you do want to free your ancestors and your descendants from the patterns that keep repeating in your own life. Now, these are, simple, short experiences that give you a taste of what is possible when you do the deeper dive coaching with me. But typically, I work with people for a minimum of 4 months to a year in order to be able to support them, not only to do the deep clearing, but then the maintenance that's required, because this is where I see a lot of problems occurring. People have a big shift, but then they don't know how to live in their new consciousness, in the reality that's still old around them, whilst the new world is being built. It takes persistence and practice. It takes accountability. It takes being able to fall over many times and pick yourself back up again before you're not scared of falling over, and you can trust yourself to really, really move forward in the new direction that you want at the new vibration that you're at. I've also put a link to my multidimensional yoga, which is Monday nights, because you can join me from anywhere in the world. And if you can't join me live, you can always catch the replay. And if you haven't tried multidimensional yoga yet, it's a healing in itself. It's a mind, body, spirit connection that allows you to up level every time that you come and take a class. And the themes that I run through the new moon and full moon are also relevant to the multidimensional yoga. So if you want a sort of low cost membership to connect with me, then I would suggest working with the yoga and the full moon co-creations. And also, if you want to go deeper, then remember that playing with these digital products and having an experience of those is really helpful. And it gives you that sense of whether you'd like to book a breakthrough call with me, meet myself and my coaching team, and embark on a deeper adventure of choosing to align with your path as a conscious co-creator of your reality. Now, I insist that those people that I work with wish to align with the win-win-win in everything and the highest good of all. That's how I know we don't get caught up in ego antics again, and we kind of decide to just go down a path of, I'll just do what I want and screw everyone else. No. When you choose to be a conscious co-creator of your reality, the concept of manifesting shifts a lot. Because yes, you can put your energy into anything you want, and you can put a lot of energy and effort into manifesting it, which is kind of manifesting from your masculine, by the way. It's a lot of effort, you'll get there, but the energy you put into it is pretty intense. Learning to manifest or co-create, utilizing your inner masculine and your inner feminine in an evolved form to support the desires of your inner child, you come to realize that this is more about the feeling that you want to experience than the actual specific desired outcome that you have, whatever that might be. If you've had I want to earn 10,000 a month every month, and you hit that target eventually, then all that happens is it changes. You're like, oh, I want 20. Oh, I want 100. Oh, I want this. When are you going to be satisfied? When are you going to be fulfilled? When are you going to access the feeling vibrations that allow you to really be in a space where you feel you've got what you need and you want, and you can give from an overflowing cup? I know in my journey, as I've been evolving, that what I've really been wanting more than anything to connect with his feelings that align with contentment, fulfillment, satisfaction, the idea that I can share from an overflowing cup with others rather than I have to keep these external accolades going so that I'm worth something, right? You're intrinsically worthy, you're intrinsically deserving. But whilst we're here on this planet, we have an opportunity to use our energy to support this planet to evolve in alignment with love, or to support this planet to devolve in alignment with fear. What's right, what's wrong, it's really our choice as a collective consciousness what we want to experience. But we've had a lot of war, we've had a lot of struggle, we've had a lot of limitation. Wouldn't it be wonderful to align with love, to align with thriving, to align with seeing this world evolve beyond its current state? That's what I'm inviting you to. So if you're liking the sound of that, do subscribe, do hit those notifications, do book onto the Inner Circle full moon meditation, where it's called the Full Moon Energy Upgrade and Healing. Okay, but it is a co-creation style meditation where we bring in all of the healing codes and everyone receives what they need for the next 2 weeks. And everything else is also lower down in the text box that I have mentioned already. Send you loads of love. I look forward to hearing from you. Hang in there. Allow this transformation. Wonderful things are happening. We do need to keep our focus on the world we want to co-create. And whilst we're seeing things all around us, whatever action we need to take, we have to put our soul in control first before we take action. Okay, this way we stop recreating dramas being repeated again and again and again. That's it for now. Namaste. Lots of love.